It's a big day for the world's biggest democracy as India gets set to elect its next government. It is 11th of April today, the first phase of the 2019 Lok Sabha elections. Voters across 91 constituencies from 18 states and 2 union territories are voting in this very phase. So about 1,279 candidates, including Union Ministers Nitin Gadkari, Kiran Rijiju and VK Singh are in the fray. Polling is still underway, but latest updates do suggest a healthy voter turnout in most parts. Our teams are getting us live updates from different states. So let's start with Andhra, where it's a multi-cornered, four-tiered race for 25 Lok Sabha and 175 assembly seats. In Telangana, the fight is underway for 17 Lok Sabha constituencies. Let's go across to CNN News 18's Rishika Sadam for the latest. Rishika, this is the first time the two states are voting separately for Lok Sabha polls after the bifurcation. What's the mood there like?
Well, indeed, it's been an action-packed day for the state of Andhra Pradesh, and as we speak, there's still polling centres where polling is underway, and these are the polling centres where it started quite late because there were technical glitches in the EVMs. Now, it all started with most of the leaders have finished their voting procedure in the first half of the day, but we do understand there have been multiple polling centres in which EVMs had technical glitches, so there was polling which started quite late, probably 2-3 hours late. Now, right after voting, Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu had reached out to the Election Commission saying about 30% of the EVMs had technical glitches, which is why there was a delay in the polling procedure in most of the constituencies, and he's also demanded a repoll. On the other hand, Vice Jagan Mohan Reddy, after voting, had said that he's absolutely confident about a majority. There's no chance of a hung assembly. So it's a stiff competition in Andhra Pradesh, just like the last time. There was just a 1% vote share difference last time, and both the leaders this time have been trying desperately to bridge that 1% gap. And there have also been clashes, verbal clashes and clashes among party group leaders, ground workers across the state. We've also had reports coming in that several of them were injured, there was stone pelting, they've been moved to hospitals. So specifically in the Rayalaseema region, which is the YSRCP bastion, there have been heavy security arrangements to get voters to the polling station and conduct these polling procedures peacefully. However, the turnout does not look that great at this point of time. The reason being several of the EVMs had technical glitches and the polling had to start a couple of hours late. But the authorities say everything is under control, and the final polling percentage at 5 p.m. would determine how many of the voters had actually come out to vote this time in Andhra Pradesh.
All right, Rishika, thanks for that. So that was Andhra, but in the northeast, voting is underway for 14 Lok Sabha seats as well as for Arunachal Pradesh and Sikkim's legislative assemblies. Archana Shukla is now joining in from Tura in Meghalaya. Archana, you've been across many parts of the country, rather. We have seen a strong voter turnout at this point in time in the northeast, specifically where you are. What's the latest in terms of how the response has been?
Well, yes, the voter turnout in overall Northeast has been quite high, and particularly in Meghalaya till 3 p.m. the data that we have, voter turnout was 55%. Well, that could also be because the voting started pretty early in these regions. Meghalaya particularly, because of the sensitivity of the region, the polling is happening only till 4 o'clock. So behind me, the polling center has already shut and polling has stopped because that's the deadline for Meghalaya for the polling right now. But Tura constituency, Tura and Shillong are the two Lok Sabha constituencies that went to poll today. And Tura was quite interesting in a way that two of the Sangmas were pitted against each other. Former Congress Congress candidate and former CM of the state, Mukul Sangma, was pitted against Agatha Sangma. And remember, Agatha Sangma is the lone candidate in this fray, in this Lok Sabha election. BJP State President Rikaman was making it a three-cornered fight here in Tura. So an interesting constituency. A lot of issues about, like development, like jobs that we were speaking to people. But I have some voters who've just cast their vote to understand what really was on their minds. What really was the biggest issue on your mind right now when you went to cast your vote?
See, it's citizenship amendment bill is one of the issues. Then there are certain issues like developmental issues. Then for this Lok Sabha election, for the last 40 years, we have been voting for one leader and his family. So I think we need a change.
What was on your mind when you went to vote today? What is the biggest issue on your mind?
हम लोग सिटीजन अमेंडमेंट बिल के लिए वोट दिया है, इसको बंद करने के लिए और देश को शांति रखने के लिए वोट दिया है, बस वही।
देखिए, हम तो बिजनेसमैन है, मैंने एक तो बात बोलूँगा, जो हमारा नॉन डेवलप्ड एरिया में थोड़ा पानी का क्राइसिस है वो थोड़ा सॉल्व हो जाए तो ठीक है.
Okay, so developmental issues, but then the biggest issue on the minds of some of the voters who we spoke to is the Citizenship Amendment Bill. Remember, Meghalaya has vociferously protested against the bill. This was also the reason why we had seen some cracks between NPP and BJP in the alliance that they have. But while the state government had very categorically indicated that they will not support the Citizenship Amendment Bill, that is still one of the bigger issues that Meghalaya people are looking at before they go to vote this time. Back to you.
All right, Archana, we'll keep coming back to you for updates over the course of the day. But on the first day of voting, some citizens found out that their names were either not on the list or they were not allowed to vote. So some of them were big names from corporate India. Apollo Hospital's vice chairperson Shobna Kaminini's name was missing from the list at a polling centre in Hyderabad. Maruti Suzuki's chairman as well, R.C. Bhargava, was also unable to cast his vote today. We spoke to him earlier today and he told us that his name was on the voters list, but someone had stamped deleted across it.
I have an election card issued by the Electoral Commission. I had voted in the 2017 Assembly elections. I hadn't got a slip. It's sent to me sometimes by the polling agent, but I went to the polling station thinking that since I have an election card, I would automatically get to vote. When I went there, I found my name was on the list, but across it, somebody had stamped deleted. And that really meant that I could not vote. So my real question is that how do names get deleted? The process of informing the place where the person lives that your name has been deleted for this reason. There should be some process for it. Otherwise, it can become quite arbitrary.
All right, let's move on to Western Uttar Pradesh, where voter turnout has crossed 50% in most of the 8 seats that have gone to polls today. So Bharatiya Janata Party faced a tough contest in all the seats due to the alliance of Samajwadi Party, Bahujan Samaj Party and Rashtriya Lok Dal. Sahil Meghnani joins in now from Ghaziabad, the constituency of Union Minister V.K. Singh. Sahil, how has the day been so far?
There's been mixed response as far as voter turnout is concerned. It began on a very, very impressive note with the voter turnout clocking as much as 13% within 2 hours. But from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. the voter turnout was slow. It once again picked up pace between 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. and since then the voter turnout has been growing thinner, and the reason for that is that the temperature here is soaring. As far as this constituency is concerned, it's both an urban as well as a rural constituency. 52% of Ghaziabad constituency is full of urban areas, your posh colonies, offices, educational institutes and even shopping malls. But considerable 32% lies in the rural segments, Loni, Dhulana and even Muradpur. And hence it's very difficult to predict which way will the voters, which way will this seat exactly going to go, because while the urban sector seems to be pretty happy with General V.K. Singh for the kind of infrastructural development that this area has seen, but in areas like Loni, Dhulana and Muradpur, the rural segment is not that happy. Another important reason why General V.K. Singh will not be very confident of coming back to his seat or winning by the kind of margin that he won the last time around is also because the Mahagathbandhan candidate here is from Vyas's community, which is a considerable proportion in this constituency, and even the Congress candidate is a Brahmin candidate, which is the core vote bank of the Bharatiya Janata Party. So it's going to cut some votes. Since morning, we have seen many people turning up here with a lot of enthusiasm, but being turned away simply because their names were not missing. One instance was of a 69-year-old who came all the way from Rishikesh to vote, but sadly didn't find her name in the list. There has been a war of words going on between EC officials here and voters who are being turned away. But again, EC officials are just waving their hands up and saying that not much can be done. In the neighboring Gautam Budh Nagar, though, something very interesting happened. Food packets were distributed to EC officials with Namo printed over it. That led to a huge uproar. I spoke to the district magistrate. He said there's nothing much much to be read into it. It's just a small coincidence. A number was written over it. However, just half an hour after we raised that issue, the UP CEO asked for a detailed report, and the opposition really has picked up that issue, directly blaming the Election Commission of India to be hand in glove with the ruling government. So that's been the day like in the western part of India's largest state.
All right, Sahil, thanks for bringing us that update. So from Western UP, let's move on. Former Congress President and UPA chairperson Sonia Gandhi filed her nomination papers from Rai Bareli in Uttar Pradesh today. A four-time member of parliament from Rai Bareli, Sonia Gandhi would be facing Bharatiya Janata Party's Dinesh Pratap Singh. Now remember, Singh was earlier with the Congress party. The SP-BSP Grand Alliance has not fielded any candidate in the constituency. Flanked by her children, Rahul and Priyanka, and son-in-law Robert Vadra, Sonia Gandhi took part in a road show on her way to the district magistrate's office to file her nomination. She also took part in a religious ritual organized by party workers. Meanwhile, Parikshit Luthra is also joining in now from Rai Bareli with the latest. Parikshit, it was a show of strength once again by the Congress party and the Gandhi family very clearly.
You know, before I come back to Rai Bareli, it's very important to point out the major issue in these 8 seats of Western Uttar Pradesh, the plight of sugarcane farmers. They are very upset that successive governments, including the BJP in 2017, after winning the assembly polls, had promised that sugarcane farmers will be paid their dues by the mills every 14 days from the date of purchase. That has not happened. Farmers don't get paid for more than a year at times. So this is a big issue in this region because this is the sugar bowl of India. 50% of the sugarcane is produced in these 8 seats of Uttar Pradesh. It's also a prestige battle for Ajit Singh and the Rashtriya Lok Dal. He was wiped out last time around and they're hoping for a comeback in this election. Coming to Rai Bareli, again a very, very interesting contest, both Rai Bareli and Amethi. These are contests to watch out for. Amethi could be a close one because you've got Smithy Irani against Rahul Gandhi, and Smithy Irani had brought down Rahul Gandhi's winning margin last time around. This time, as you said, it's an interesting battle. You've got a former aide of Sonia Gandhi, somebody who's helped her win elections in the past, contesting against her on a BJP ticket. He has called Sonia Gandhi a holiday MP who comes to Rai Bareli, campaign to campaign, election from election, comes here only for some time and leaves, doesn't have any direct connect with the voters here. But it'll be difficult to beat Sonia Gandhi. Remember, the Congress party has won this seat 19 times since independence. Feroz Gandhi has held the seat. So has Indira Gandhi 3 times. Dinesh Pratap Singh, whom we spoke to, vowed to remind Sonia Gandhi of what happened when Raj Narayan Singh had defeated Indira Gandhi. Yes, the nomination process is over. She came, she did a long road show. The focus of the Congress party was on the minimum income guarantee scheme. Garibi par bar, 72,000. Those were the slogans that we saw and the posters that we saw during the campaign. Back to you. We're joined by Dinesh Pratap Singh of the BJP. Dinesh Pratap ji, इस सीट को कांग्रेस का गढ़ माना जाता है. 19 बार कांग्रेस ये सीट जीत चुकी है. पिछले 3 चुनावों में 3,50,000 से लेके 4 लाख वोटों से सोनिया गांधी ये सीट जीती हैं. 4 बार यहाँ से एमपी रह चुकी हैं. बहुत मुश्किल लड़ाई नहीं चुनी आपने?
मुझे नहीं लगता जैसे आप कह रहे हैं कि ये रायबरेली वही कांग्रेस का गढ़ है जहाँ इंदिरा गांधी हार चुकी हैं और एक छोटे से देश के सिपाही राजनारायण जी ने उनको हराया है. तो आपको लगता होगा मुश्किल, लेकिन इतिहास ने जगह जगह समय समय पर करवट बदली है और ऐसी चीज़ें हुई हैं जो असंभावी लोगों को प्रतीत होती थी. इस बार भी वही होगा.
आपके लिए सबसे बड़ा मुद्दा क्या रहेगा इस बार?
देखिए, सब कोई जानता है कि प्रियंका गांधी पिछले 2017 के चुनाव में रायबरेली आई थी. उसके बाद 2019 के चुनाव में आई, फिर 2022 के चुनाव में आएंगी और फिर उसके बाद 2024 के चुनाव में आएंगी. तो सोनिया गांधी और गांधी परिवार अपने लिए तो रायबरेली आता है, लेकिन रायबरेली के लोगों के लिए कभी नहीं आता. इसलिए बड़ा मुद्दा है कि रायबरेली सांसद चुनता है अपनी समस्याओं के निदान के लिए, अपने डेवलपमेंट के लिए, जिसके लिए सोनिया गांधी कभी भी फिट नहीं रही हैं, कभी भी वो मिलती नहीं रही, कभी भी आती नहीं रही हैं. लोगों ने इंतजार किया कि हो सकता है बड़ा परिवार है, आज नहीं तो कल, कल नहीं तो परसों जो है रायबरेली की सेवा करेगा, सम्मान करेगा. लेकिन आज की तारीख में गांव-गांव में आदमी निरुत्साहित है और इस निरुत्साहित होने के कारण अब भारतीय जनता पार्टी के साथ खड़ा हो गया है पूरा रायबरेली का. मेरी 3 चीज़ें हैं. देखिए, रायबरेली का स्वाभिमान सबसे बड़ा विषय है, क्योंकि रायबरेली में असत्य को परोस करके पूरे रायबरेली में स्थापित कर दिया गया रायबरेली नेहरू गांधी खानदान की धरती है, जबकि रायबरेली का अपना खुद का त्याग, स्वाभिमान, बलिदान है। यहाँ के लोगों ने रायबरेली के सम्मान, स्वाभिमान के लिए अपने शरीर का बूंद बूंद लहू से रायबरेली की मिट्टी को सींच दिया, जिनको कांग्रेस ने खत्म कर दिया, नामो निशान मिटा दिया।
Meanwhile, Union Minister and BJP leader Smithy Irani, who is contesting against Congress President Rahul Gandhi in Amethi, filed her nomination papers today. She was accompanied by Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath. Earlier, she held a 4-kilometer road show which saw strong participation from BJP supporters. This, remember, is the second time that Smithy Irani is contesting against the Congress president. In 2014, despite a Modi wave, she lost to Rahul Gandhi by a margin of over 1.07 lakh votes. Voters don't have the right to know the source of funding of political parties. This was one of the arguments put forth by the centre's senior-most lawyer, K.K. Venugopal, as he tried to justify to the Supreme Court the government's stance that donors of electoral bonds should remain anonymous. This is, remember, contrary to the stance adopted by the Election Commission, which is pushing for transparency. Remember, the court today was hearing a public interest litigation filed by Association for Democratic Reforms that challenges the validity of electoral bonds. Ritu Padabhoyan, who has been tracking all the developments, is here with the exact details. Ritu, take us through what was discussed in court today.
Well, the judgment on this matter will be delivered tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. And it was interesting to see from the Supreme Court side itself issues and questions being raised. Firstly, on the genuineness of transactions, that is, will black money through channels like shell companies, will that be put into the kitty of political parties through banking channels? And of course, then what about the identity? How will the identity of the purchaser of these electoral bonds be protected? The government, on its part, assured that that there are enough safeguards on protection of identity. Banks do not know which particular set of electoral bonds will be, given to which particular purchaser. The KIC documents, for example, are sealed and are put in a locker, and hence there is no way to know, which purchaser bought which bond. But at the end of the argument that the government side made, there was an interesting observation. The issue was relating to transparency of the entire process. On that, the government maintained that voters do not need to know where money of political parties come from. This is an experiment. This experiment should be continued. There will be a review of this electoral bond system, which will be done once the elections are over, and hence the Supreme Court should keep that in mind and allow the electoral bond scheme. Now, if that will be allowed or not, we'll get to know tomorrow morning. With that, it's back to you.
Let's run you through the market action of the day. Amid volatility, Dalal Street recovered to close the day with marginal gains. Sensex recovered more than 150 points from its low to end mildly in the green. The Nifty also ended at the day's high. Broader markets were in line with the benchmark indices. Nifty Mid-Cap Index as well as the Nifty Bank Index ended the day absolutely flat. Now, the big corporate story that we have been tracking very closely right here on CNBC-TV18, the hunt for a buyer for debt-laden Jet Airways is underway. We learned that as many as 4 companies have submitted expression of interest in picking up stake in the airline. And that's not all. We also learned that Naresh Goyal may also throw in his hat. Ritu Singh is here with the details. Ritu, first, how many bids, who are the bidders that have sent in expression of interest so far, and who are the ones that are likely to before the deadline closes?
Well, as of last night, we've been able to confirm that at least 4 expressions of interest were submitted to acquire stake in Jet Airways, and these have all come from private equity players, with no strategic players really coming forward as of now, to look at acquiring stake in Jet Airways. The first one, of course, coming in from NIIF, as we have been reporting. The second from TPG Capital, which again has wide interests in the aviation sector. Indigo Partners, another player with interest in the aviation sector, has also submitted an EOI. And the fourth player is actually a consortium between Redcliffe Capital and Think Equity, which is a US-based firm. And now all of these 4 will be analysed and scrutinised by the lenders, rather, to see if they qualify to submit final bids, which are then expected by the 30th of April. But that said, given that the deadline for submission of EOIs has been extended to Friday, we're given to understand that the key reason for this extension was Air Canada seeking time from the lenders to submit that bid, which it is now expected to do before the end of the deadline on Friday. Besides that, the other big story really that we've been tracking is Naresh Goyal himself, who was a former promoter of Jet Airways, now looking, to regain control of his airline, but by submitting a bid. Whether he brings in a partner or looks at rejigging loans is something we'll have to see. But he's definitely in the running and he wants to submit a bid, is what we're given to understand. Could do so as early as today itself. But the other player that remains in the fray is Etihad Airways, that also remains in talks with the lenders and is also expected to submit its bid by the end of the deadline.
Okay, fair enough, Ritu, for getting us that comprehensive update. But staying with the aviation space, SpiceJet surged in trade today, up by almost 7% by the end of the day. This was largely after sources said that the airline is looking to lease around 10 to 12 deregistered planes of Jet Airways. Remember, the aviation regulator, DGCA, has already deregistered 8 aircraft of the debt-laden airline at this point in time. There you go, the stock on your screen, ending the day up by about 7.2%. As I promised, here a sneak peek into our new series, Rock the Vote, where we speak to artists, musicians and young rock stars on what they make of the mood of the nation as India votes for its new government. In its first installment of this series, we caught up with Neeraj Arya's rock band Kabir Cafe. Take a look.
What do you think are the issues of youth or youngsters like you? What do you guys would vote on or vote for?
यार हमको चाहिए हर इंसान का वही जिसको भी पूछोगे उसको चाहिए कि भाई जॉब्स रहें और लफड़ेबाजी ना हो जो होती हैं वो सब ना चले।
कोई लफड़ेबाजी ना हो।
लफड़ेबाजी इन द सेंस मतलब जो चलता है आजकल जो ये डिवाइड कर दिया ना हमने हर चीज को।
आई थिंक इसके लिए भी रिस्पॉन्सिबल हम ही हैं। ये जो व्हाट्सएप जर्नलिज्म होता है ना यार, मंगलम की शो देखो न्यूज़ के लिए अपने स्कूल के फैमिली के व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप से न्यूज़ नहीं बनती है। तो जो व्हाट्सएप जर्नलिज्म होती है ना कि इधर से वो होता है, ये लोग ऐसे वो लोग वैसे, इसकी वजह से फालतू में लफड़ेबाजी होती है।
Kabir said what he saw. What is it that you guys are seeing right now?
Pretty much the same thing, where we are seeing that there is more need, because it's so easy for anybody to write anything they want. It's a great thing, freedom of opinion, voice, but then it's strictly becoming one way. Activism is always two ways. Gandhiji went on a fast. He tried to see, can I be non-violent in my thoughts? Before actually making the whole country follow satyagraha. अभी ये वो गलत है, ये गलत है, hashtag गलत, tag खत्म करके चले जा रहे हैं. Are we trying to apply any of the solutions? Corruption हटाना है, पुलिस पकड़ तो 100 रुपए लेके छोड़ो ना.
And you can catch the special show on CNBC-TV18 at 5:30 p.m. this evening. With that, it's time to wrap up this edition of After the Bell. Many thanks for watching. Stay tuned to CNBC-TV18. Markets Today. Talkback is up next.